Now, say your expressions get really long, right? Particularly when you're really just using one variable in your comparisons. You could go with a switch statement. So this is a really special control structure when you want to go with a more concise syntax and structure. So basically, a switch statement is a control structure used to choose between many specific values of a single variable. So it's an alternative to that if else ladder statement, right? Those can get really verbose, really long, um, maybe even hard to read, right? So sometimes you go with a switch statement because it's clearer and shorter than multiple if else statements. I can tell you I use switch statements very sparingly, but again, there are cases where a switch is leagues better than writing 20 different if else, blah blah blah, right? I can't even say it till you get to the else. Definitely a switch might be better in that scenario. So it's going to run the first matching case, just like a if else statement, right? If else if statement, and it'll skip the rest. The syntax is a little bit different. You have to use the break keyword. Uh, it's also called the break statement to actually exit the control structure. We'll see this again when we get to loops. But let's actually take a look at an example, right, to kind of decipher the switch statement. So we have our day variable, and the day variable can have many different values, right? If our program is dynamic, right, of course, this day variable could take on many, many different values. So rather than writing a bunch of if else statements, right? So this would be if, else if, else. I'm going to use the switch statement, and we're going to see how this kind of maps out. So the syntax for the switch statement is you have switch, then you have your variable, and then you have different values for each variable. And then the first matching value is the one that it's going to run. And of course, you always need your breaks to make sure that it works as you intended to be. I'll explain more once we get to the example. And think of the default as like your else, right? Default meaning the default scenario, right? If none of the other ones work, we're going to default to this execution. So yeah, let's put this into context. So we have our day variable. We're going to ignore the actual value for now. We're going to read the switch statement. So it's saying switch day. So you're going to switch between different cases of the day value. If day is 1, day is equal to 1, you're going to say system.printout or system.out.println Monday. Now, it is important you put the break statement here. Now, what happens if you don't put the break? This will execute, right? The switch statement is looking for the first match. It won't run anything until it finds that first match. But if you don't put the break statement, it's going to start executing everything, even if there's not a match. So without the break statement, it's going to work not as you intend it to be. So typically with a switch statement, part of the syntax, you do need your break statement there. The break is essentially saying, hey, break out of the switch. We're done. We don't need to keep checking or running anything else. Just exit. Now, of course, with the if else, you don't need the break. It's kind of built in to those branching conditional statements. For the switch, it's not quite built in, so you do have to explicitly tell it, hey, can you exit after you finish executing this case? So let's see what would actually happen if day is equal to 3, right? In this case. So this case is not a match, so we're not going to run any of these statements. This is not a match, so we're not going to run any of these statements. This is a match. So we're going to print out Wednesday to the user. And then the break tells us, hey, don't keep running anything after this. Exit the switch statement, move on to the next piece of code outside of the switch statement, of course. So the default is not going to run. If I forget my break here, it's going to print out Wednesday and other day. You know, kind of weird, right? That you have to put the break there, but that's just how the switch works. So each case compares the value of day to each value after the case keyword, looking for the first match. If it doesn't find a match at all, then it's going to default to this case here. It'll just print out other day. So let's say day was 5, not a match, not a match, not a match. So think of the default as the else, right? Otherwise, we're going to do this, and it'll print out other day.